Friday, everyone. The topic I want to talk about today is marriages and relationships, and I want to give you one piece of advice, one thing that I tell couples when I do premarital counseling, because one of the cool things I get to do, I get to officiate weddings. So when I officiate a wedding, I oftentimes get to do premarital counseling along with that. And one of the things I'll tell couples is to focus on their spouse's strengths while simultaneously focusing on their own weaknesses. Okay, so let me explain what I mean. Within my marriage, it is very easy for me to go and to focus on my wife's weaknesses and my own strengths. Right? Like, and you do the same thing. We all do. If you're married or you're in deep relationship with someone, you can even do this with a close friend or family member that isn't your spouse. It's easy for you to look at their life and see all of their weaknesses and then see all of your strengths. Right? So, I mean, if you put the kids to bed, or you're the one who does this, or you always take the trash out, or you're the one who takes care of the house, you're the one who takes care of the yard, or you're always the one to fold the clothes, you look at those strengths of yourself, and then you look at your spouse's weakness. Well, they never do this, and they never do that, and they always do this, and then round and round and round we go. So you're focusing on your spouse's weaknesses and your strengths. But what if we flipped it? What if instead of you focusing on your spouse's weaknesses, you focused on your spouse's strengths? Because let's be honest, like, if you're married to someone, there's a reason you got married, right? Like, there was something in that person that you said, hey, I want to spend the rest of my life with this person. So if you begin to focus on your spouse's strengths and then focusing on your weaknesses, if you flip it, then all of a sudden your marriage is completely transformed. And here's why. You start rejoicing in the fact that God gave you that particular spouse because you're focusing on what they do that is strong, what they're succeeding in. So if you have a spouse who loves your kids well, and you focus on that, and you don't magnify the weaknesses. Okay, so they never take the trash out, or they never pick their towel up off the ground, but they love your kids well. And if you focus on the fact that they love your kids well, all of a sudden you'll be rejoicing, you'll be speaking life into them, because inevitably, the thing that we focus on is the thing that we're going to talk about. So, spouse loves your kids well. Well, you're always encouraging them, saying, hey, I really like the way you pulled our kid aside and gave him a hug, or I really like the fact that you're willing to cuddle in bed with the kid. And you're not always like, will you pick your towel up off the ground? And then if you begin to look at yourself, so you're rejoicing in your spouse, then you begin to look at yourself. And you're looking at yourself and going, okay, what are the things that my spouse would tell me I need to reform? What are the things that my spouse would tell me I need to get right? What are the things that I'm not getting right? What are the things that I'm not succeeding in? And then you spend your time looking to reform the things that you need to get better. So here's what this looks like in a marriage where both spouses are doing this. You're simultaneously rejoicing in one another's strengths while trying to reform your own weaknesses. So you're both growing. But the reason you're growing is not because the other person is nagging you. It's because you want to grow. You want to continue to become the person that God would have you be in that marriage. And that's something I'm trying to do myself. So what I want to do, let's practically play this out. What I want to do is I want to become the husband that God would have me be for Colleen. So I'm constantly praying that God would give me a heart to reform the way that I love Colleen. Because I know I get it right at times, and I know I get it wrong at times. I know there's days where I succeed, and I know there's days where I crash and burn. It's this idea that the psalmist writes about in Psalm 139. I'll read it. This is verse 23. It says, search me, O God, and know my heart. Try me and know my thoughts, and see if there be any grievous way in me, and lead me in the way everlasting. It's the idea of God, search me, show me where I need to improve, how I can be a better husband. While simultaneously, I look at my wife, my 8 months pregnant wife, and I'm like, she's killing it. Like, she makes pregnancy look easy. She's loving our two daughters. She's still working as a personal trainer, and she's following the Lord and serving at church and loving me well. I want to focus on those things because, I mean, she's a human being. She's not perfect, but I don't want to magnify the weaknesses. Now, if she's doing the same thing, if she's looking at me and going, okay, Jason is a buffoon, but here are two or three things that he's getting right, and she's focusing on those while simultaneously trying to reform her own weaknesses. See, we've got a marriage that's full of encouragement. We've got a marriage that's constantly growing. And let's call a timeout. We do need to let each other know where we can improve. But we do it at the right time in the right place. Maybe we're sitting at dinner and we're like, hey, this is an area I'm praying for you and that I think you can grow, and I see the Lord pressing on you. Not this dinner time, the house is on fire, the kids are running around, there's 17,000 Cheerio crumbs on the floor. Because I have no idea how the one Cheerio can turn into 17,000 little crumbs. That's not the time to be like, hey, you really ought to work on this, you really ought to work. No. But I believe that's a healthy relationship. I believe that's a relationship that will continue to grow, and God will continue to use to mold and shape us into the person He wants us to become in Christ. So, I hope this was helpful for you on this Friday morning, and I hope you have a great Friday, and I hope you have a great weekend.